Okay, hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm really excited to talk to you. Yeah, I've
So
loved both
exciting.
of your films, so I was
Yay!
really excited to talk to you. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Because I feel like right off the bat, the opening sequence very much, I was like, okay, she's trying to tell us something with this opening sequence. And to me, you were trying to say that love predates humanity. But as a society, we've kind of lost sight of what it really means to be in love. So can you talk about your decision behind including that as the opening sequence?
Well, I think what you're describing is probably right. But I think also the thing that I was thinking about is that, well, we have records of um, stone tools passing from one place to another,
Mhm.
right? We have a material records of things because that's how the film is materialist. It's about the things that sort of have moved areas and hands and things that have we have records of. But the thing that we don't have a record of is the feeling that passed between people. So I was thinking about that also with like the way that uh, marriages are historical records. Marriages are one of the most uh, accurate and the most profound historical records in humanity, right? People usually go back to marriage records to learn things about like birthplace and everything, right? Because they just go back to that. And the thing is, when they go back to those, the marriage records, it's like, well, we have history of who got married to whom, but we don't actually know how many of those marriages were any good, right? Like we don't know what those marriages were. We don't know how many of them are abusive, how many of them are wonderful, how many of them are in love, how many of them like fell out of love. We have no idea. And of course, to not even mention queer love that don't have any records, right?
Right.
That we couldn't possibly know what is the love that passed between them, the immaterial,
Mhm.
the not material, the spiritual, that other thing, the other ancient feeling that passes between people. So to me, I was just so obsessed with the way that we actually have no way of uh, knowing who was in love with whom, and there's no material record of that, and all we can do is to imagine um what the what the records show is what exists beyond what the record shows, you know. So I think that really was at the end of it, like, you know, like the flower that it gets passed between the cave people, right, is that's gonna turn into dust in
Mhm.
a week,
Mhm.
right? But the feeling they have, what are we trying to say? Are we trying to say that that feeling is not as important? It
Mhm.
doesn't matter as much as
Mhm.
the material goods that have passed and then we have records of, right?
Mhm.
Is it just because it was not in the marriage ledger in
Mhm.
history? Doesn't mean that that love was not as good or not as real, right?
Mhm.
So I think that to me was really what at the heart of what those opening sequence is.
Okay, I want to talk about overall messaging for this film, because uh, there's a lot of lines that really stood out to me, but I feel like one of the ones that I really liked was when Pedro Pascal's character says to Lucy, "You must know a lot about love," and she says, "I know about dating." Can you talk about kind of the messaging behind that in the film?
I mean, exactly that though. 'Cause my thing is, it's like, you know, dating is a game that we all play so that we are able to find love in the middle of the market, right? That's what we're trying to do. So given that, it's like Lucy is a great, I think of her as like such like like a stockbroker or something, somebody who is supposedly an expert on this the dating market, the game, right? And she's trying to improve the odds of her clients, and that's her job. She's kind of like in charge of their, you know, their her client stock. So
Right.
right, like
The
it's
value, the literal
and she, I
value.
know the value, and then she's trying to upsell it, like she's trying to so that's kind of the life that she lives, but it has nothing to do with what she knows about love. I think that she doesn't know anything about love, and I think that, you know, at the end of the film, she even talks about, she's like, well, you're the only reason I know I'm capable of it, right? And the truth is that like there's actually no, I wish that there was a way to mathematically uh get there, right? Get to the place where you love someone, but you actually cannot fall in love with the height, weight, salary. You know, you just can't. I wish we
Much as
could.
people want to, yes.
I wish, as much as people want to, as much people want to, and as much as we dream of it, as much as that was true, right? Because I mean, I think about, like, you know, there's so much there's like a funny thing where it's like, well, people think about what's amazing about Pride and Prejudice is that the fantasy of it's a fantasy of the person who is the love of your life is also the person who is a solution to all your material problems, right? What an incredible fantasy, right? And of course, Liz, in that situation, when he shows up to her, like everybody talks about that scene, and it's such a romantic scene. It's depicted as such a romantic scene, but the truth is that he shows up and he says, I don't like your material circumstance. I don't like your family. I don't like your mom. Like he is, it's not very nice,
Mhm.
right? And then her response is not like, oh, just because you say you love me, fine. She goes, fuck you. You know, like that's actually see, that's actually what that scene is. And the truth is, it's like at the end of the day, if you cannot, um, uh, as Lucy says, love has to be on the table,
Mhm.
right? Of course, it'd be amazing if we could just fall in love with the salary and the house and the height and weight. I wish we could do that. It's not possible. And I
Mhm.
think that to me, the film is about that. And that's what Lucy is saying. Lucy is saying that, well, I can play this game,
Mhm.
but love is actually something that I am not an expert on. And
Mhm.
then, of course, shortly after that, she says, love is easy,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
love, unfortunately, is something that you don't have a control over.
Mhm.
Weirdly, the things that we can control are harder,
Mhm.
right? And also easier, right? Like, sorry, what is it? It's like there is things that you can control. It feels like it's more effort, but it is easier to contend with
Mhm.
because it means that you can try to control it,
Mhm.
right? But when it comes to love, because it's not controllable, right? It's over time, there's conversation about love in the film where she goes, can't help it, right?
Mhm.
John says this, like, you can't help it. It just
Mhm.
happens. And then you're just screwed. You
Mhm.
know, like poor Lucy, she's so screwed, right? It's like, how do, like, what can she do? This is how what her heart says, you know?
Mhm.
So to me, it's like it's so much about the distinction between dating, which is the game, and something that you can try, right? You
Mhm.
can go on dates, you can be on Tinder, like you can do whatever you want, you can try. And then there's love, which is something that you can't try. And that's what's hard about it,
Mhm.
right? But then when it happens to you, it's the easiest thing in the world,
Mhm.
right?
Right, you can
When you
be good
have
at dating but unsuccessful at love.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And you can be great at dating. And that would be the situation that Lucy's in. I think if she tried to play the game, she would do a great job. And
Mhm.
she does. She
Mhm.
does do a great job, you know?
Yeah, she gets the unicorn and then
She gets the unicorn.
go.
And
Yeah.
then right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, actually that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about. Lucy as a character goes on her own journey of self-discovery, and she's kind of forced to confront her own preconceived notions about love throughout the film. And then at the end, we see her realize, you know, I was playing the game wrong, the dating game wrong my whole life too. And what's missing from my own life is love. So was it always in the cards for her to end up with John?
I mean, of
Yeah.
course, because the thing is, if she was, by the way, if she was not a smart person about uh dating and thought that she knew everything, then
Mhm.
I think that the ending of that character would be different.
Mhm.
But because she knows everything, she's an expert, she's an amazing dating person,
Mhm.
the only way that she's going to transform is with somebody who makes a very stupid decision. Right? Like, I think what's so funny is it's like, of course, there's a feeling of it's like why is she making such a stupid decision? And I'm like, well, unfortunately, love makes fools of all of us.
Mhm.
And in a way, she's not making a stupid decision at all. She was just offered something,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
She got an offer that she can't refuse. Right? It's like
Yeah.
Godfather. It's like she was given an offer that she can't refuse. And this one you can't refuse. And
Mhm.
that's the only wise thing to do, which is to accept this offer, which is that I'm gonna love you today, just like I loved you yesterday, and I'm gonna love you forever, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna be here,
Mhm.
right? And I'm gonna be here for you. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I have, right?
Yeah.
He's not saying like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It's like, well, at the end of the day, what he's saying is like, no, no, all that's gonna happen is that I will love you. That's it. That's all I
Mhm.
have. And it's
Yeah.
amazing because it's like it's the one thing that one must feel entitled to from the person they love, right? The one thing that you should feel entitled to from the person you love, person who loves you, who loves you, is that they love you.
Mhm.
Right? Like love is the only thing that you're entitled to. But it's amazing because if everybody feels very comfortable feeling entitled to all kinds of things, everything from, hairline to height to whatever, but the one thing that people are scared to say that they're entitled to is love.
Mhm.
And John is offering something, and he's saying like, this is it. This is all I have, but I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you everything I have.
Mhm.
Right. And what can Lucy say? Lucy has to say like, fuck yeah, right? Which is her way of saying, she says deal. She
Yeah.
says, yeah, I'll take that deal,
Hmm.
right? And of course, in a way, you're like, from the Lucy in the beginning of the film, that is probably a very stupid decision.
Hmm.
But at the end of the film, we know that that's the only decision she can make, and
Hmm.
the probably the only smart decision she made in the whole film,
Hmm.
right? Because she just said, like all this math is being done for the wrong thing.
Hmm.
Like the math has to be that, like, well, am I gonna grow old with this person? Right? But that's the math.
Hmm.
But from the first half of the film, she's thinking before she goes through what she goes through with Sophie, and of course what she goes through with Harry. Like after everything she goes through, she actually before that, she's somebody who would say, like, no, 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 this is your market value in the marketplace. You gotta get somebody we can afford as you gotta upsell, right? Like you gotta get the highest level possible given what you can afford.
Hmm.
By the end of the film, she's realizing that it's like, no, I'm a person. It just has to do with the way we make each other feel. That's
Hmm.
it. Right? And do I like this person? And what is this person offering? And of course, John says the perfect thing. He goes, this is it. I'll be your certainty. I'm
Hmm.
just going to be here for you. Right?
Yeah, and that was
And
beautiful. I loved his
and
ending.
of course,
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
yeah, and that's all he can offer, but that's what he offers, right? To me, I'm like, well, love is surrender. He completely surrenders,
Hmm.
right? And he knows this deal is probably not materially very good. He
Hmm.
knows, right? That's why the ending of final line of the film, his proposal is not love you so much, marry me. It's like, how would you like to make a very bad financial decision? How would you like that?
But
Right?
be happy.
We're gonna be fucking
Hopefully.
happy, right? No, they're gonna fight for it. Now they well, 'cause now he says, you make me brave enough to admit that that's what I want. I want to be
Hmm.
happy, and I want to be happy with you. That's it, right? And how can you say no to that? That's the only deal you can take.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, it's like you can say like, oh wow, so dumb, and you're like, well, it was always true that Lucy's gonna make a quote unquote a dumb decision at the end of the movie. She has to, right? Because she's too smart. Like she's too smart. Yeah, by the way, if the character was really dumb about love and then didn't know how to do math at all, then I would be like, well, then the person I should make a decision at the end of the film knowing how to do the math, right?
Oh, that's
But
interesting. Yeah. You
right?
kind of
Because
had
I
it
think that, of
reversed. Okay.
course, if she was somebody who was not an expert on dating,
Hmm.
right? And there must be a story out there that might work like that, which I don't ultimately uh believe in. But like, but I'm like, but I feel like if you're so smart, and I think this is something that I think so many of us like modern women understand. All day I have to show up and I have to be the smart girl, right? Like I know you get it. Like it's kind of like we show up every day. We're so in charge. I'm a director. Like I'm a boss. Like, I mean, I have to walk around, I have to make decisions, and I'm in control of everything. I try to control everything, and I'm smart. I have answers to everything. My whole day I'm just showing up being like,
Hmm.
gotta be smart today. So
Hmm.
what an amazing thing that there is one thing in a person's life, in my life, that makes me feel so stupid, right? And makes me feel like a fool,
Hmm.
right? Makes me feel like I have to completely surrender everything I know about anything, and that I
Hmm.
have to just accept that um, I'm just a fool for love, or
Hmm.
that I just have to give up on the idea that I'm a smart girl when it comes to this one great ancient mystery, this
Hmm.
mystery that completely um, have baffled the the smartest people, right, ever, right? It's
And
smartest people on
continue
earth.
to baffle people further into the end of time,
It's
basically. Yeah.
gonna be it's gonna be
Yeah.
baffling forever. It's gonna be right. I
Mhm.
mean, like if you ask anybody who thinks that they're smart, they might have it. Let's say you ask them like, "What's gonna happen to the U.S. dollar?" and they'll be like, "Wow, it's gonna happen." Whatever. Like if you're gonna have, everybody has answers to everything. But the one place that they're not gonna have, if you ask that same person, "What do you how's your love life going?" Like how's your marriage? Like how's your relationship?
Mhm.
Right? They're always gonna say, "I don't know." Right. They're gonna be like, "I have no idea. I feel
Mhm.
like an idiot." Right?
Mhm.
And that's of course what Harry says in the film too. Harry goes like, "Makes me feel like a child. I have no idea what it is." Right? But then the only thing you can say in that situation is like, "Yeah, but when it happens to you, you're just gonna when it walks in the door, uh, it's gonna suddenly feel easy.
Mhm.
It will. Because how amazing that you get to surrender.
Mhm.
You don't have to know nothing, like, And that to me is the journey of Lucy. Like Journey is somebody who starts out being like, you know, a smart girl like the rest of us, who knows everything, who controls everything. And what is she controlling too? She's controlling love. Like how people feel that's what she's trying to control. And of course, at the end, she has to only whether she's gonna get her happy ending is by surrendering,
Mhm.
right? By saying, I don't know nothing, you know, like I don't know anything. But I what I do know is that um this person makes me feel love, right? That's it.
Mhm.
And I have to take this deal, right? Even
Right.
as like, the Lucy from the beginning of the film would advise her not to. By the end of the film, because of everything she's gone through, she knows that only thing that matters is that little flower ring, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's a sentiment, you know? Yeah.
Running out of time. It's just
Yeah.
can I talk about well, I'll try to squeeze in two more questions.
Okay.
But
Try.
you can do if you can talk about kind of how your experience, I know that you worked as a matchmaker previously for
Yeah.
a brief
Yeah.
period of time. If you can talk about how that played into kind of how you shaped your characters in this film. And then I've always loved that your films have a very a soft overall effect to them, and the lighting is really beautiful, and they have a lot of really earthy tones, it seems. So if you can kind of talk a little bit about the filmmaking techniques you use to achieve that look.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like it was so inspired by the time I worked as a matchmaker for 6 months because I feel like and then I remember leaving that job feeling like, oh, I want to write something about this. I want to make something about it. I think that when it comes to the filmmaking of it, I think that it always has to feel true to me and in the way that I experience. And what I really care about more than anything is for it to feel like life itself, so that we as our audience can forget that what we're experiencing is every single thing that is being controlled in a film. Because I mean, I think this is very connected to the way we're talking about love, right? It's like, well, do you want this movie to be something that I want everybody to fall in love with this movie? And how are you going to fall in love? It has to feel effortless.
Mhm.
So that's what I think what really connects me to the kind of lighting or the kind of um, the visual approach to it always. And this is something that, of course, like I'm talking to my production designer, Tony Gasparo, or my DP, Shabir Krishna, who I also worked on with on past lives. And the fantasy and the dream of it is always that it's like, well, does it feel true to life in some way? And of course, it'll be cinema, right? It's everything is going to be uh, more beautiful because it's cinema, but still you want it to be feel like there's no lighting equipment, you know, like or like there's no camera, right? It's like you almost want it to feel like it's like it is just being observed, and you're just being observed intimately, so much so that the audience forgets, not the whole time, but even momentarily, that they're watching a thing that is not real. But and part of that, what that gets to do, what you get to do, if even for a moment the audience forgets, is that, well, then you get to let it into your life and let it into your heart. Like, I'm so excited about the way that once everyone gets to see the movie, people are going to, I want to talk about the way they're going to talk about their love life, right? In relation to it. Just want people to be like, oh my God, we just that fucking thing, you know what I mean? That thing, what are we gonna do about that thing, you know? So I feel like it's like, to me, it's like, well, you want it to be under everyone's skin in some way. So the
Mhm.
visual language is always going to be about that. It would
Mhm.
want to feel completely effortless, because love is effortless,
Mhm.
right? So in that way, I want it to be I want to make a movie that feels like as effortless as love, as effortless as love. Yeah.